So this is a bit of a different video to what I usually do, but I just thought about making it because it seemed like a pretty cool idea. Um, so I suppose I'll just get straight into it. In F tier, we have Goldeen because, I mean, it literally does nothing, so it's possibly the worst you can, well, it is the worst you can get. Also in F tier we have Mew, who, again, does absolutely nothing. So in E tier we have Alolan Exeggutor, and that's mainly just because he doesn't do any attacks. He just kind of moves around the screen. It's kind of pointless when it comes to 1v1s. I mean, I could see how it works in free-for-alls, how you could have 2 people on one side and 2 on the other, which kind of makes sense and you can block yourself off, but really, it's not all that useful. So, also in E tier we also have Palkia, who, it's not fun for anyone, really. I mean, it's a cool concept, of switching time and space and then making the screen turn around and everything, but it doesn't help the person who summoned it. Right, so next of all we have Fletchling, who, I mean, you can just avoid it. The reason Fletchling is in this tier is just because it's so damn easy to avoid, and I don't understand why he would ever, like, look, I'm standing all the way over here, and even the summoner can get in the way. Yes, he stays around for a while, but he doesn't do much damage, and he's really easily avoidable, and it's not very good. Right, so Eevee's about the same case as Fletchling. It's just really easy to avoid. It doesn't matter where you are, you can just jump over it. The only thing is that when Eevee hits you, it does a lot more damage than Fletchling. Moving on to D tier now, and we have Fennekin. Now, Fennekin, same story with Eevee and Fletchling. It's really easy to avoid, and also after Fennekin shoots flames this way, it just turns around even though my opponent is the other way. So it's more of a, you've got control over the stage, more so than targeting your opponent. Vulpix is pretty much the same idea as Fennekin, but a little bit better. For one, its flames can go a lot further, so it can go up to about maybe to this platform over here. Another thing about it is that it will stay in the same direction. It won't be like Fennekin and change whenever it feels like it. So it'll stay in the same direction unless the opponent is in the other way, otherwise it will turn around. Joining its Cantonian version in D tier will be Alolan Vulpix, which is better than normal Vulpix, just for the fact that the ice goes really far, it freezes you, and at high percents that can be really dangerous. Next in D tier we have Gardevoir. Gardevoir doesn't do any damage, it makes a field where projectiles are reflected, so it'll just knock them right back at the opponent. This isn't too much help when you're facing an opponent who is really physical. The final Pokemon in D tier is Abomasnow, and this is again because you can just avoid it. For his Blizzard attack, he stays in the same spot. For his Ice Punch attack, he always moves across the ground, and it can do big damage, but if I'm all the way over here, he's not going to get me. Moving on to C tier now, and at first we have Meloetta, whose attacks are decently good because they bounce around a lot. They also do a little bit of a bit of damage. Like, they're pretty strong. The only problem is she only shoots out 2. She doesn't stay around for very long, and essentially they can be pretty easy to dodge. But the main reason is just she doesn't stay around long enough to do more than about 30 damage, or maybe even near 40 at some point. But again, it is kind of easy to dodge, so I wouldn't say that Meloetta's is the best. Next we have Oshawott, who is kind of cool. I mean, he'll hit the opponent and drag them off stage, unless it's walk-offs, then he'll just keep going. But even if he does get them off stage, it really doesn't matter what percent they're at, because they're still going to make it back 9 times out of 10. So, one, you can just jump over him. He doesn't do that much damage, and even if he does take you off stage, you can still pretty much get back all the time. So I'm putting Metagross in here next because he only stays in the one area. I'm all the way over here, and it hits me for a decent bit of damage, and he does bury you with his attacks, which is cool. But yeah, he just doesn't stick around as long as he should. And he kind of just stays in the same area. So as long as you stay away from the stage and maybe camp off stage even, then you're pretty fine, because he's not going to get to you because he just stays in the same area. Now I'm going to say that Inkay is decently good, because when the opponent is near Inkay or somewhere near it, it'll create like a mini earthquake where it's just, when they get hit, it's just a free smash attack or just a free attack on the opponent. However, it would be even cooler if it went the whole stage, which would be better and more beneficial. But another problem is you just stay on top of the platforms, and he's not going to get you. So the only problem you're going to have is if you're in his general vicinity. Next of all, we have Go-Goat, which it is pretty cool, I guess, because he does do quite a bit of damage if he hits you. And also it's really cool how you can ride on him and then do attacks from wherever he is. He doesn't last that long. I would say he lasts long enough for Pokemon that, well, does his general sort of damage, I suppose. But I would just say that once again, he's kind of easy to dodge. Just stay on a platform or just stay in the air and simply avoid him. Even if he's coming at you, you can just jump. Even the opponent can ride on his back, so I don't see how you're going to get hit if you stay on his back. But yeah, that's Go-Goat. Chespin, I feel, has potential. Like, he does only stay in the same spot, but if you push him, then he can be pretty devastating. Mainly because his C-Bomb does quite a lot of damage. It covers a good amount of space for his general spot, and it's just kind of... He's alright Pokemon to have if you're just playing casually and you want something to hold some part of the stage, but again, stay on one side of the stage and you can easily avoid him. Spewpa doesn't actually attack opponents, he just kind of stays there. A thing that you can do though is if you hit Spewpa, it'll release some kind of like stunning gas, which will lead to a free attack or something at least. But honestly, other than that, Spewpa is just something that can be convenient. I mean, it's not like someone's going to go out of their way to hit Spewpa to hit their opponent. And even if they do, their opponent probably isn't going to be stupid enough to stay in the same area and get hit by the stun. Now, I know Suicune is a legendary Pokemon, but he only shoots out one beam, and if you jump or if you just dodge it in any general way, then you're safe. I mean, it does do a pretty good amount of damage, and it does freeze the opponent, but it only does that amount of damage because it's so easily avoidable. About now, we're getting into characters who are kind of good, who can be good in certain situations. Like, Dedenne is one of those characters where if you're just throwing your opponent in there, it deals good amounts of damage. There's not really a downfall with Dedenne, except for the fact that it's kind of small. It just stays in its general area. If you get hit by it, then it's not like it's going to kill you, but it will do a bit of damage to you, and I just think Dedenne is an average kind of Pokemon. Now personally, I didn't even know Scizor existed, but that's only because I didn't see him in Smash 4, but he can be pretty good. He attacks the opponent multiple times, which is really cool and really neat. It does about 19 damage each time. He will follow the opponent, which is really good, and that's really important. He can be easy to dodge, which is the only downfall, as long as you stay away from him. But yeah, he does follow you. The only reason I'm not putting him higher is just because he's not as good as ones in front of him. Next we have Blossom, which activates really quickly, like if you throw it down, and the box and the hitbox for its sleeping powder is very small, but as long as you get them in there, even at high percents, and they're going to sleep for a much longer time, and you're just going to get a free smash attack out of it. You're just going to get anything you want, really, and just knocking them in Blossom's general direction could force them to roll, or even just do anything that will put them in Blossom's hitbox for the sleeping powder, and it might be a little bit lower than it is, but at the moment I'm saying it's pretty general and it's pretty okay. Togepi is a little bit hard to judge because Togepi uses Metronome, which has different effects just every time. It's just random RNG, and that's kind of a bummer because you don't know what you're going to get. As you saw, we have Earthquake. It can freeze the opponent, it can put them to sleep, which is a lot bigger. I think it covers the whole thing rather than Blossom, so it's much better than Blossom's. But Togepi is just one of those wild cards where you don't actually know what's going to happen. Sometimes it can make the screen go dark, and that's not fun for anyone. But really, it can be good in lots of situations. Abra is a new addition to Smash Ultimate, and I think it's a really cool concept. Like, it just teleports you in any random direction, and it goes on for a while, and it just teleports you wherever. And I think that's really cool. It doesn't do any damage, which is fine, but it's kind of like really gimpy. It travels kind of fast, and it can catch the opponent off guard. So if they're up here and attacking you and Abra just gets them, they might go off stage, might not be ready for it, mess up their jump, mess up their up B, and then they die. Togedemaru, I would say, is a pretty good Pokemon because it's kind of similar to Dedenne in the fact that it just creates sparks around it. It's about the same size as Dedenne's, and the reason why it's better though is because, one, it moves a little bit, so it goes to the left or right depending on which side the opponent is on. It's just better Dedenne, really. I've never really liked Swirlix in the Pokemon games, but in Smash Bros it is kind of good. Now, in a big enough hitbox, Swirlix just creates this slowing down time kind of thing for any opponents in its general vicinity, and it's really good because it can just lead to many other things, just punches and smash attacks and whatever the hell you want, just for summoning this Pokemon. I would say it is kind of small, but it's still big enough that 7 times out of 10, you're going to be able to get your opponent in there. You're probably going to be able to throw them or attack them and hit them into it and lead them to even more damage from your attacks. Meowth is pretty good. I would say Meowth is a very good Pokemon because it does a bunch of damage, especially if you're close. And yeah, it can just do a lot of initial damage as long as you're close. The only downfall is, again, that he stays in on his part of the screen. His attack doesn't go so far, so where Mario is probably wouldn't hit Luigi, like about here. But as long as you get 3 or 4 hits on Meowth, it's still going to do a decent bit of damage. It can get them in a bit of a hit stun, which then you can follow up with a smash attack or whatever you want, grab them, anything. It's just Meowth can be a setup, and he just does a bunch of damage. Another legendary in C tier is Moltres, who literally does nothing. The only thing that'll hurt him, the only thing that he does to hurt the opponent is just being hit by Moltres. So if you get hit by Moltres, like at all, then that's a lot of damage. See, that was like 42 or something? Yeah, 48% that Moltres does on contact. However, it's not always so good because it's not reliable. depending on where you actually summon him is where he's just going to stay and rise up. So your best bet is summoning him and then trying to get your opponent into him, but if you can't do that, then it's just a waste of the Pokemon being there. Next up we have B tier, which starts with Alolan Raichu. I was thinking of putting Alolan Raichu just a little bit higher due to the fact that he does quite a bit of damage. He stays around for quite a decent while, but the problem is he can't really combo into his second attack. As you see, Alolan Raichu hits the opponent and then hits them again to do like 48%. Although that doesn't always work because as you can see there, Luigi got hit by the first attack but wasn't hit by the second. And that's kind of just a bummer and it just doesn't always work. Snorlax is one big boy. He's at the middle of the stage right now and his hitbox goes to like the center of this platform and to the center of the other platform. It's complete, it's almost the whole stage. It's just wherever you are, if you throw down a Pokeball and it's Snorlax, most of the time it's going to hit your opponent. It does 24%, which is pretty good. It's really good, in fact. And even it also has a hitbox of going up, which is still a lot of damage. And he's just a really hard hitter. He's really big, he takes up a lot of the stage, and he's just a strong Pokemon. And now we have Electrode, whose only goal is to blow up. It just self-destructs. It does a bunch of damage on Explosion, and that's okay, because it stays in its general area, so if you stay away, you're probably not going to get hit by it. However, the good thing about Electrode is just before he blows up, at about this stage, you can actually throw him, which does a bunch of knockback. As you saw, that was just Luigi dying at 0. It does 48%, it's a really strong thing. It's really strong if you throw it, rather than it just exploding itself. However, you can't pick it up before it enters that certain phase, and if you pick it up and wait too long, you'll explode yourself. It's pretty easy to avoid on its own, and it can be hard to hit if you're throwing it. So I'm saying B tier is probably the right option for you. Another Pokemon you can pick up and throw is Pyukumuku, who pretty much does nothing unless the opponent is close. And what's really cool is, yeah, you can pick him up and you can throw him at the opponent, and that's really neat because it'll do a bunch of damage because of the fist. But honestly, Pyukumuku won't do any damage on his own unless the opponent is near him and tries to walk over him like this. And yeah, so he's not going to do any damage unless that happens or you pick him up and throw him. Mimikyu is a pretty good Pokemon. It does a bunch of damage. If it grabs the opponent, it drags it into its body and does damage. If it's at high percent, like 90% or 80%, then Mimikyu will get it to over 100. And if the opponent is at 100%, he'll just explode, kind of like Zelda's Final Smash. So he'll just cease to exist, KO, lose stock, add a point, whatever. Lugia is next, and honestly he's pretty good because he goes behind and he shoots a bunch of Aeroblasts, particularly targeting the whole stage, or at least the middle of the stage. So depending on where you actually send out Lugia, that's where he's going to attack from. He does a lot of damage, but as long as you're on the other side of the stage where Lugia is not, then you're probably not going to get hit by it. But it's still a lot of damage. He also does a lot of damage on Spawn, which is really good. So yeah, he's about mid B tier. Next we have the legendary from the Pokemon Sun game, Solgaleo. What he does is just engulf himself in flames and attack the opponent for 30 damage, which is quite a lot. And he does this 3 times. It can be kind of difficult to avoid because he will target you, but if you avoid it, you're not going to get any damage done. You're probably going to get hit at least once, and that's still 30 damage. And Solgaleo is just one of those Pokemon where he's just a big legendary who does a lot of damage, and overall he's pretty decent. Lunala is a similar story, except instead of just staying on the stage, it goes up and it shoots a beam of light, or a beam of moonlight or whatever, and attacks the opponent, does about 36 damage, only because it's a little bit hard, it's a little bit easier to avoid. As long as you stay away, then you should be able to avoid it. If you're getting pressured by your opponent though, I'm pretty sure your opponent will try and hit you into the attack and just build up a lot of damage. So Lunala is pretty threatening, but easy to avoid nonetheless. Near the top of B tier we have Deoxys, who only stays in a very limited portion, but does a bunch of damage if you get hit. And of course, you're not going to get hit because you're going to expect not to go into the light. But if your opponent grabs you or your opponent hits you into it, then it's guaranteed you're going to get hit and have a bunch of damage racked up onto you. Xerneas doesn't do any damage, but it actually just gives you effects. It turns you gold and also ups your launching power a little bit more. So you'll be able to knock your opponent away a lot easier than you normally would be. Tapu Koko is pretty much the exact same as Dedenne and Togedemaru with a bunch of other buffs. First of all, his electric surge is a lot bigger, so it goes a lot further. The second good thing about Tapu Koko is he, instead of just shooting out electric, he also shoots out lightning bolts, which do a bunch of damage on contact if you get hit by them. And finally at the top of B tier we have Marshadow, who is pretty incredible, because at first it stuns you when you get hit, and if you're not mashing, then you're going to get hit with a super powerful attack, which just is a great, it does a bunch of damage and it's just really good. If you're mashing, you're probably going to get out of it, but at high percents, you're probably not going to be able to get out of it. It's going to do a lot of damage, and even if you didn't get stunned, you're still at risk of getting hit by the punch. It's just really strong, and even if you don't get hit by the punch, you're still stunned, and your opponent can go in and try and attack you. It's kind of hard to avoid it, mainly just because he lurks underneath you in the shadow. Now we're starting to get to some pretty good Pokemon in A tier, and of course we're going to start off with Bewear, who does a massive amount of damage with its uppercut. Now Bewear is pretty easy to avoid, but just the generalness of being hit by its uppercut is enough to launch you after 2 hits. Now you're probably going to get hit maybe once with Bewear, because it does follow you around. It's not the fastest thing, but if your opponent grabs you or hits you near Bewear, you're probably going to get hit, and it does a bunch of damage if it gets hit with the proper uppercut. So Bewear is just packing punches. Now Arceus isn't all that drastic until you realize that you're getting pressured by the opponent. You're not going to get hit by Arceus unless you're in the air. So if you get thrown upwards or something like that, then you're going to get hit by Arceus, which on its own does a bit of damage. The most important thing about Arceus is if you're at a high enough percent and the opponent throws you or hits you off stage and Arceus does his attack while you're off stage, you go straight down. This could be considered a spike, even though it's really not, but yeah, you really go straight down. It doesn't matter what percent you're at, but you're just dead if you're off stage and Arceus does his attack. So I think with the pressure from the opponent, that's probably going to happen, or at least you're going to get hit downwards and have a little bit of damage on you. But the opponent is most likely going to want to try and get you off stage while Arceus is on the stage. Snivy may be small, but my god, it is kinda OP. Because if you get hit by the first shot of Snivy, then you're gonna get hit by most of the other shots from Snivy. For example, if I use this right near Luigi and he gets hit by at least one of them, he's gonna get hit by a bunch of others, and it does a bunch of damage, no matter where you are. Ditto is new to Smash Ultimate, and I think it's a really cool idea that you're able just to have another person going at it and fighting this CPU that just pretty much does what you do, except it's not as good, really. This is essentially like having a team of 2 fight this one person. I am going to say though that the Ditto is kind of bad. Like it's not like he's going to be able to hit the opponent very much, but it does give you more pressure against the opponent. For real though, Staryu is incredible. Staryu is like a really good Snivy, because you'll just keep getting hit, there's nothing you can do about it, and you're just going to get led with a punish or something, because you're just going to get hit by Staryu. A thing that he does better than Snivy is he'll keep you, if you get hit by one, you're going to get hit by all the rest. Another thing is, he will move in the air, whereas Snivy will stay on the ground. And when you first summon Staryu, he will actually go to your opponent. So if your opponent's jumping up, then Staryu will follow your opponent and keep attacking it over and over. And if you get hit by the first, you're going to end up with like 39 damage right here, and it's still just really insane. Okay, Cure Him to the Point is something that I thought was broken, but he's still really good, but he's not broken. His Icy Wind has a massive hitbox. It does a bunch of damage. It freezes you. It goes for a long time, and it's really wide. The only downfall is if that you could camp on the ledge and then not get hit by it. But other than that, it's pretty hard to avoid this one attack. It's actually quite good. Next up we have Giratina, who is very, very good. For starters, it goes across the whole screen, his wind attack, because when you summon him, it doesn't really matter where you are, he's going to move back to get as close to the edge of the stage as he can. It goes really far, so it goes to the edge of the screen. It does decent damage. I wouldn't say it's broken, but it covers a wide area. It attacks 3 times, and the opponent can jump, but if you're getting pressured by your opponent, then most likely you're going to get hit by it, you're going to get carried off stage, and you're going to have to recover back. And if you've got a bad recovery, then that sucks for you because you're not making it back. Genesect is also really good because he shoots one or 2 beams, and then he does a big laser beam thing like that. He does that twice. Both of the small lasers do a decent bit of damage. The final laser does 36. He can move around the stage, so wherever your opponent is, he's probably going to follow it. By being pressured, you're probably going to get hit, and you're going to get hit with a lot of damage. It kills you at high percents, and it goes across the whole stage, the final beam at least. It's just very diverse, and he can get around. It's kind of hard to dodge. You know, one thing I never understood is why Zoroark is a Master Ball Pokemon, even though he's not a legendary. But then again, Goldeen is also, but that's just the joke. Anyway, Zoroark goes up to your opponent, attacks him with a Fury Swipes, and then it does some kind of like Bike Final Smash or Greninja Final Smash on them. Spikes him down, and if it's on the top platform at high percents, then they're dead. It does 45 damage, which is very, very good. And even if it misses, or even if the opponent is able to shield it, then he goes for it twice. So if you miss, then he's gonna go for it again. And the cool thing is, he disappears and goes into it, kind of like a teleportation kind of thing. So it doesn't really matter where you are, Zoroark is gonna be there. The only way you can get out of this is with some really cool spot dodges, rolls, or shields that may just get you out of it. I was pretty unclear of what Victini did myself, but apparently it gives you a Final Smash. So, of course, this effect will vary depending on what character you chose. If it's Marth, then the opponent's already dead. If it's Mario, then, you know, it didn't help you out at all. But it doesn't really matter what character you get. A Final Smash is still a really powerful attack. It's still gonna do you a bunch of damage, and yeah, Victini just gives you a Final Smash. So it doesn't really matter what character you are, you're still getting a Final Smash, and you don't even need to have a Smash Ball or a Final Smash meter. It's just a really good Pokemon. Latios and Latios are so annoying because they just fly back and forth on the stage with their wind boxes and their hit boxes. Now see, I'm getting carried over the stage here, and it does a bunch of damage. It's really hard to avoid. You're going to get hit by it, even if it's just the wind box. But you're getting pushed around left and right and left and right, and you're just going to get hit over and over and over again. You don't even really need any pressure from yourself if you use the Pokemon, because the opponent is going to get hit by the wind box. It covers the whole stage, and it goes off stage as well, and it's just a really good Pokemon. It wouldn't be a Pokemon tier list if Kyogre wasn't in it, because Kyogre just spits water, and so if you're off stage, you're dead. Like, if it pushes you off stage, there's nothing you can do. You're already dead. It stays around for so long that the only way you're going to be able to survive is just hang on to the ledge and pray that your opponent doesn't take advantage of that. And really, Kyogre, if you're in the air, you're dead. If you're off stage, you're dead. You just gotta hope that the RNG will allow you to somehow get out of it, or Kyogre finishes his attack before you can actually die from it. And here we have the S tier, starting with Darkrai. Darkrai is really good. He does a bunch of damage. The Dark Void that he sends out is gravitational, so it will pull your opponents in. It'll send them to sleep, and the higher their damage is, the more that they stay asleep. Free smash attack, free kill, anything, and even if they're awake, they're still stuck in there because of the gravitation. And even if Mario is all the way on this side of the stage, and Luigi is on the other side, and Mario summons a Darkrai, then it doesn't matter, because Darkrai sends out his black hole towards Luigi. Wherever you are on the stage, Darkrai will send the Dark Void to your opponent no matter where they are. And if you're in the air and you get hit by it, then you're going to keep getting hit. It's not going to send you to sleep, but it will still do a bunch of damage. So Darkrai just puts on the damage, and you're just going to keep getting hit, and it's just incredible because you're always going to get hit no matter where you are, whether it's from your opponent or Darkrai or anything. Entei is an absolute monster. He's pretty much Deoxys, but with a much larger hitbox. It stays around for such a long time. From the first hit, still does 50%, and it's incredibly hard to not get hit by it, because even if Entei's on this side of the stage, I can still go over to my opponent and throw him in there, and he's getting hit over and over again. Massive damage, great launching potential, kills at lots of kills at kills a lot of percents because you actually are higher up, due to the fact that the Fire Tornado sends you up, and if you're on a platform and Entei's on the platform, then you're just dead at very low percents, and Entei is probably just a Deoxys with power, just a lot of power. And of course, at the top of the tier list, we have Keldeo. Keldeo is insane because you can air dodge all you like, but this boy follows you wherever you go, It doesn't matter where you go, he's gonna follow you, he's gonna be there, and he's gonna attack you with his Sacred Sword. If you're getting pressured by the opponent, there's almost no way that you're going to avoid this. At high percent, it's gonna kill you as well. He attacks 5 times, and within that 5 times, he moves all across the stage. He goes off stage as well, and it really doesn't matter where you are, because Keldeo is going to follow you, he's going to try and attack you, with your opponent trying to attack you as well. It's going to do a bunch of damage, and it's a crazy Pokemon because it'll just follow you anywhere, and definitely deserves the top spot on this tier list. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to let me know down in the comments so I can maybe do some more things of this. I mean, it was definitely more of a challenge than my normal videos are, but I had fun making this. I felt like I was really putting my knowledge to the test on which Pokemon I think is the best. Again, this is entirely my opinion. You do not have to agree with this. I would say there's a hint of truth to this because I have got a bit of reasoning on each of these Pokemon as to why they're in a certain tier list that they are. But I hope you guys just enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.